Good evening and welcome, everyone. My name is Jumi Olabanji, and I'm coming to you in studio in Washington, D.C. at NBC4, and I want to welcome you to the 15th annual Red Dress event hosted by 14 Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Northern Virginia chapters of the Lynx Incorporated. I am a proud member of the Reston, Virginia Lynx chapter, one of the host chapters of this evening's event. And hey, they say the third time is a charm, and I have truly enjoyed serving as your Red Dress MC for the past 3 years. Now, do you know what today is? It is National Wear Red Day, and let me just take a quick point of privilege to say all of you look amazing in your red. I see you there in the crowd, many familiar, beautiful faces, some new ones too in our virtual audience. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. You know, each year the DMV Lynx go red for heart health to raise awareness against the #1 killer among women, heart disease. It's known as the silent killer. Heart disease not only disproportionately affects African-American women, but most of us are not even aware that heart disease is our greatest health risk. Well, tonight, our incredible speakers and panelists are going to get to the heart of the matter, which is this year's theme. Ladies and gentlemen, we must change the narrative. And tonight, we're going to hear how we can do just that and much more. So stay with us. We have, once again, amazing speakers, expert panelists, and we also have prizes and giveaways. And let me just tell you, someone is even going to win tickets to The View. That's right. So you have to view until the very end for your chance to win. You can like, share, start a virtual watch party with your friends and family. Tonight is about changing lives and saving lives. And we want to go viral. And now coming to our virtual stage is a phenomenal woman who really needs no introduction. Joining us tonight from New York is Sunny Hostin. You see her weekdays on The View, but she's also an attorney, a multi-platform journalist, and a New York Times best-selling author. Sunny is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and the Greater Hudson Valley New York Lynx chapter. Hey, Sunny.
Thank you, Jumi. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sunny Hostin, lawyer, author, journalist, and co-host of ABC's daytime talk show, The View. I am deeply humbled and privileged to be standing before you today as we officially commence the American Heart Association's National Heart Month and commemorate the National Wear Red Day alongside my DMV Lynx sisters. And I also bring warm greetings from my own Lynx chapter, the Greater Hudson Valley in New York. As we turn the page on the calendar and welcome a new year, it is so important to reflect on the significance of this occasion and the gravity of the cause we are rallying behind. Despite the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, which has brought unprecedented challenges to our society, heart disease remains the leading cause of death among women. This is a stark reminder of the persistent and pervasive nature of this disease and the need for continued vigilance and action. As we go red on this National Wear Red Day, we stand united in our efforts to raise awareness about this critical issue and to advocate for the prevention, early detection, and treatment of heart disease. However, amidst the alarming statistics, there is a glimmer of hope. We have the power to take control of our own health and mitigate the risk of heart disease through informed and proactive measures. By learning about and adopting healthy lifestyle choices, such as engaging in regular physical activity, consuming a well-balanced diet, and effectively managing stress, we can significantly reduce our risk of heart disease and improve our overall health. As women, we often put the needs of others before our own, right? But tonight, let's make a vow to prioritize self-care and love ourselves enough to take care of our hearts. Instead of succumbing to stress and burnout, we should strive to find ways to relax and rejuvenate our bodies and our minds. It is essential to understand that making those small changes can have a significant impact on our overall health and well-being. Let us fall in love with the idea of living well and make it a priority to nurture ourselves both physically and mentally. Our healthy lives matter, and it is imperative that we prioritize our physical and mental well-being. In this vein, I urge you all to stay tuned as we have the honor of hearing from esteemed experts in the field of heart health, mental health, diabetes, COVID-19, and other important issues. The speakers and panel, hosted by my friend Symone Townsend, will be providing invaluable insights and information that can have a life-saving impact. I encourage you to invite your friends to join us tonight on Facebook Live and take advantage of the wonderful prizes and giveaways that the links have planned. Now back to you, Jumi.
Sunny, thank you so much. And now it's time to give some shout outs in our first giveaway prizes of the evening. So let's go ahead and pull up those names. Okay, we have Elaine Harris of Washington, D.C., Renata Robinson of Atlanta, Georgia, and Whitney Hubbard of Memphis, Tennessee. Congratulations. You all said yes to the red dress first and were the first 3 people to register for the event. Let's go ahead and hear from you in the chat. Thanks for joining us. You will each receive a signed copy of executive strategy coach Mariko Bennett's book, The Blueprint to Manifest Your Dreams, plus a healthy, delicious recipe cookbook from celebrity chef Cynthia Anderson Clay called The Art of Healthy Cooking, A Journey to a Healthier You, and you get a $25 gift card. Congratulations to the 3 of you. Please go to the live chat right now for instructions on how to redeem those great prizes. Now, please help me give a heart-healthy welcome to Suzanne Walker, the president of the Arlington, Virginia chapter of the Links Incorporated and the chair chapter of our annual Red Dress event. She'll be followed by Michelle Bailey, Red Dress event chair for the past 5 years. She is also a member of the Arlington Links chapter, and she is the founder and creator of HBCU Honors, one of tonight's sponsors.
Thanks so much, Jumi. Greetings from the Arlington, Virginia chapter, and welcome to the 15th annual Red Dress event. On behalf of the 14 Red Dress host chapters of the Links Incorporated in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, we are pleased that you have decided to spend the evening with us as we get to the heart of the matter. We are on a mission to save lives. Tonight, you will receive heart health, mental health, and wellness information from leading medical experts to empower and inspire you to make key lifestyle changes. And we want you to encourage your loved ones to do the same. By sharing this event link with your family and friends, we know you will hear something that will be life-changing and life-saving. Don't forget to check out the chat feature throughout the night. Tell us where you're from and how you're enjoying the program throughout the evening. There are chances throughout the night to win prizes galore. We also thank our generous sponsors, donors, and national partners, for without them, this evening would not be possible. In addition to our corporate sponsors, we are delighted to have 14 Links sponsoring chapters. And I'm pleased to introduce my sister chapter presidents. Jeannie Collins Carr, Capital City, DC. Amber R. Talbot, Loudoun County, Virginia. Beverly Ann Fields, Metropolitan DC. Rosalind Daniel Walker, Mount Rose, Maryland. Anita Young, Old Dominion, Virginia. Cheryl Simmons Gray, Patuxent River, Maryland. Jeanette Conrad Ellis, Potomac, Virginia. Shirley Barton, Prince George's County, Maryland. Dr. Regina Miltier Rock, Reston, Virginia. Desiree Hughes, Silver Spring, Maryland. Jacqueline Jackie Gray, Southern Maryland Chain, Maryland. Anita Cook Wells, Washington, D.C. And Tamika Caldwell Bumbry, Willow Oak, Maryland. The Links Incorporated is on a mission to deliver transformational heart, health, wellness, and self-care information to the community to change lives for the better. Our panel of experts will cover a range of health topics and get to the heart of the matter in 2023. Thanks again for being here and enjoy the program. Now, I'm pleased to introduce our incredible red dress event chairwoman from the Arlington, Virginia chapter, Michelle Bailey.
Thank you, Link Suzanne. On behalf of the Planning Committee, good evening and welcome to the 15th annual DMV Links Red Dress event. We know you are here because you too want to get to the heart of the matter, which is tonight's theme. At the heart of what we do as members of the Links Incorporated is friendship and service for our community. And for this now global DMV Links community-wide event, we always put our heart and soul into red dress because it truly saves lives. So I want to take this time to give heartfelt thanks to those who've made this event, this red dress event, possible, in addition to the 14 DMV Links cluster host chapters. A very, very special thank you to our title sponsor, our diamond sponsor, AT&T. Thank you, Tanya Lombard, for your extraordinary support and leadership. And to our platinum sponsor, Walgreens, back for the second time around. Alethea Jackson, thank you as well for your incredible leadership and support. To our gold sponsor, FedEx, Gina Adams, you're awesome and thank you. And also our blackdoctor.org live streaming partner, we so appreciate your support as well. To our silver sponsors, Inova Heart and Vascular Institute, you have supported Red Dress over the past 5 consecutive years. So thank you to Dr. Kelly Epps Anderson for championing our cause. And Fort Lincoln Realty, thank you, Michelle Higgins. Bronze sponsors, Black Women's Alliance Virginia, thank you, Krista Jones and Laverne Chapman. And also S&P Global is back for the second time as well. Thank you, Janet Baker. Listen, we've got an incredible lineup. Great speakers and panelists who always give freely of their time and their talents for this amazing cause. I want to shout out to Jumi Olabanji, our incredible host, and also coming up soon, you are going to hear from our friend as well, Symone Sanders of MSNBC Symone. So you know she's really going to get to the heart of the matter with our live panel. I want to take time out to say hats off again to our amazing Red Dress Committee and our production team, Hip Rockstar Productions. You know we couldn't do it without you. You always make everything look so incredible. Our media partners always amplify our cause, and we are so appreciative of their support year after year after year. We have so many small business partners and corporate friends who've lended their support tonight as well, with many of the prizes and giveaways to keep the night going strong all night long. Now you heard from Sunny Hostin from The View, right? Now listen up. You gotta continue to view right here for your chance to win tickets to the view. That's right. Right here on Red Dress, we're giving away tickets to go see the view. No place else is doing that but right here, okay? So Jumi, my dear, I'm turning it back over to you to announce our first time attendee winners. Now, everyone keep it locked right here. Continue to view, like, and share, hashtags, all that stuff. All that as we get to the heart of the matter. Now I'm heading back to the live chat. Talk to you soon. Enjoy.
Thank you so much, ladies. Suzanne, Michelle, I see you already in the live chat talking to everyone. Thanks for that. I also want to extend a special welcome to all of our first-time Red Dress event guests tonight. I guarantee it will not be your last time joining us. I'd also like to shout out a few of our first-timers who've really been engaging in the live chat tonight. Congratulations and hearty welcome to you and the other first-time Red Dress event guests. A special shout-out to Antonio Coleman of Arlington, Virginia, LaRonda Ely of Syracuse, New York, and Carla Simmons of Savannah, Georgia. Each of you will be receiving a signed copy of the book, Optimists Always Win, Moving from Defeat to Life's C-Suite by Kimberly Reed. She's an award-winning international speaker and DEI executive. You'll also be getting Nashville City Kitchen Restaurant's Nashville Hot Seasonings. That's courtesy of Dwayne Dimps Collier, and a $50 Subway gift card. So congratulations to all of you first-timers. And now it's my pleasure to welcome to our virtual stage an incredibly dynamic leader, our very own Ethel Isaacs-Williams, the national president of the Links Incorporated and Links Foundation Incorporated. She's a member of the West Palm Beach, Florida Links chapter. But for this event, she is joining us from the organization's national headquarters right here in Washington, D.C. Good evening, Madam President. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, distinguished guests, program participants, sponsors, family, and friends. And yes, to my beautiful Link sisters, I am delighted and count it a privilege to greet you as the national president of the Links Incorporated and the Links Foundation Incorporated. Thank you and congratulations to all who played a part in making history again today. For it was in 2008 that the Arlington, Virginia chapter of the Links Incorporated hosted its first Red Dressed event with 50 attendees present to educate women of color and our community at large about heart disease. Since it began 15 years ago, the Red Dressed event has indeed flourished, and we are so proud that the number of participating chapters has also grown. Today, 14 chapters located in the DMV now join in a magnificent collaboration for this event. Over the past 2 years, you have hosted this Red Dressed event virtually, and I'm so thrilled that your report shows that your audience has also grown, now reaching over 150,000 people through this effort, clearly demonstrating that greater collaboration and partnership have resulted in greater scope, reach, and impact. Thank you, one and all, for joining in today. Thank you, sponsors, for your investment in this important work. And my sincere thanks to the 14 chapters, to your members, and the event chair for continuing to elevate our focus on heart health and saving lives. Here's to a wonderful event. I know it will be amazing. Please enjoy. And now, back to our illustrious host, Jumi.
Thank you so much, Madam President, for those remarks, and a big welcome to all of the special guests in the House, the CEOs, college presidents, public officials, you name it, they are here with us virtually. And as I said last year, Red Dress is always a star-studded affair that brings everyone together from all walks of life to save lives on National Wear Red Day. Now, we are thrilled to welcome back to our virtual stage for the second consecutive year, Red Dress Platinum sponsor, Walgreens. Alethea Jackson is Senior Vice President of Environment, Social, and Governance, as well as the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Walgreens Boots Alliance, which is the holding company of Walgreens. Please welcome and give a virtual round of applause to Alethea Jackson.
Thank you, Jumi, for that warm introduction. And thank you to tonight's organizers, sponsors, and participants. I'm honored to represent Walgreens Boots Alliance and to support this incredible cause. At Walgreens, our purpose is to help people live more joyful lives through better health. We say it all the time because we believe that true joy can only come when you have that innate belief that you're going to be all right. The pandemic has disproportionately impacted communities of color, including Black, Hispanic, and Indigenous communities, and it's amplified health disparities. As a Black executive in a healthcare industry, health equity is more than a buzzword. I've witnessed health disparities firsthand, and I knew early on that I wanted to do something about it. It's a sobering reality for all of us who have seen, lived, and suffered and grieved over it. That's why I'm glad to be a part of Walgreens and why we are proud to sponsor the 15th annual DMV Links Red Dress event. Heart disease is the #1 killer among women, and at no time has there been a greater need for health equity. The work we are doing tonight is exceptionally important to shine a light on heart health, wellness, self-care, and to save lives. I'm proud to lead Walgreens in our ongoing health equity commitments, and some of which include one partnership with Vitamin Angels, which provides free natal vitamins and education, helping to combat Black maternal health crisis. Another is the Chicago Health Equity Incubator, which we have designed to address health disparities with community health resources and education. And our Walgreens Vaccine Equity Initiative, which I was proud to chair, which provides COVID testing and vaccinations to the most vulnerable communities of color. And last, I'll highlight our supplier diversity program, which ensures that our products and stores reflect our communities, including access to skincare, hair care, and more, as well as providing opportunities to women-owned and Black-owned businesses, which again help to address the social determinants of health when we think about economic stability. So I want to leave you tonight with hope that together we can create a bright, more equitable, and healthier future for Black women and for our communities. When we feel good about ourselves and when we have the right knowledge and access to care, we can make choices that benefit our physical, mental, and emotional well-being, all of which are good for the heart. Back to you, Jumi.
How's everyone doing tonight? I see a lot of dialogue in the chat. You're all talking about this important information. That means this is a great program. Make sure you stay with us, share, like this program, and also take notes for you and your family. Now, is anybody in need of a staycation? I know I am. Well, you can keep it locked right here because coming up is your chance to win a one-week stay at a Hilton Vacation Club in Williamsburg, Virginia Beach, or Las Vegas. Talk about great self-care, right? The links to how to give away some great prizes. But as our event chair, Michelle, mentioned earlier, at the heart of what we do as Links members is connected in friendship and service and really rooted in the community. So we want to thank our very generous corporate sponsors and our DMV Links host chapters because we are able to make a special presentation annually to several community partners. Last year's partners was Washington, D.C.'s Dress for Success, Maryland's Trio at Montgomery College, and Virginia's Sierra Lupus Educational Foundation. And tonight, for the third consecutive year, DMV Links Red Dress chapters will make history awarding monetary donations to 3 more nonprofit organizations in our area who are making significant impacts in the community. Joining us here tonight to make these presentations, Anita Cook-Wells, the president of the Washington, D.C. Links chapter, Rosalind Daniel Walker, president of the Mount Rose, Maryland Links chapter, and Anita Young, president of the Old Dominion, Virginia Links chapter.
Thank you, Jumi. Good evening. I'm Anita Cook-Wells, president of the Washington, D.C. chapter of the Links Incorporated. On behalf of the 14 sponsoring chapters of this year's DMV Links Red Dress event, I'm delighted to present a donation to one of our community partners, Bright Beginnings. Bright Beginnings promotes the long-term development and success of both children and families experiencing housing instability in Washington, D.C. With our donation, we are happy to support the mission of Bright Beginnings and help families learn more about heart disease, wellness, self-care, and how CPR training can save lives. And now we will hear from Rosalind Daniel Walker, president of our sister Mount Rose, Maryland Links chapter.
Thank you, Anita. Good evening. I'm Rosalind Daniel Walker, president of the Mount Rose chapter of the Links Incorporated. And on behalf of the 14 sponsoring chapters of the DMV Links Red Dress event, I'm pleased to present a donation to the Maryland Community Partner and HBCU Bowie State University Department of Nursing. This donation will be used to purchase stethoscopes and blood pressure cuffs to assess the blood pressures of the members of our community. Additional funds will be used to offer CPR training through health fairs. For more information about Bowie State Department of Nursing, please visit their website and our digital Red Dress program journal. And now we will hear from Anita Young, president of the Old Dominion, Virginia chapter.
Thank you, Rosalind. Good evening. I am Anita Young, president of Old Dominion, Virginia chapter, the Links Incorporated. And on behalf of the 14 sponsoring chapters of the DMV Red Dress event this year, I am pleased to present a donation to Northern Virginia Community Partner, Action in Community Through Service. This partnership is creating a community where no one goes without or suffers alone. And with our donation, the DMV Links Red Dress chapters are committed to ensuring that the community's life-changing and heart health and wellness needs are met. So for more information, please view the Action in Community Through Service website and our digital Red Dress program journal. And now, back to you, Jumi.
Anita, thank you so much. Great presentations there. And now for the winner of that one-week stay at the Hilton Vacation Club in either Williamsburg, Virginia Beach, or Las Vegas. All right, there's the drum roll. Carolyn Cook from Upper Marlboro, Maryland, congratulations to you. Now coming up on our virtual stage is our Red Dress event diamond sponsor, AT&T. Tanya Lombard is Vice President of Global Public and External Affairs at AT&T. She is a dynamic, purpose-driven leader who is passionate about lifting up others in the workplace and the community. And as a result, Tanya has received numerous awards from her corporate community and civic leadership organizations. She's also a member of the Capital City DC Links and Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the virtual stage, Tanya Lombard.
Thank you, Jumi, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening. I'm Tanya Lombard, Vice President of Global Public and External Affairs at AT&T and a member of the Capital City chapter of the Links. It is an honor being with all of you this evening. As a leader at AT&T, I want to share how excited we are to sponsor the 15th annual DMV, the Heart of the Matter Red Dress event. Heart health is incredibly important. This is why events like this one matter so much to our community. These conversations are a way for us to not only share best practices and our concerns, but empower ourselves and our communities with the best information and resources to lead healthier lives. I'd like to congratulate all of the participating DMV Link chapters for all the work that is being done for a healthier community. Special thanks to our national president, Link Ethel Isaacs Williams, and to Link Michelle Bailey. Now, Jumi, I'm turning it back over to you.
Thank you so much to Tanya Lombard and AT&T. Our Links national partners play a crucial role in helping to support the overall work and mission of our organization focused on enhancing our communities. We are pleased to have long-standing Links national partner, the National American Heart Association, with us, focused on heart health every single year. As you've already heard, tonight's lineup is incredible. We've got more power players coming to the virtual stage for you. But I want to introduce Dr. Michelle Albert. She is the first person in history to concurrently serve as president of three of the most distinguished cardiovascular medical societies, the American Heart Association, the Association of Black Cardiologists, and the Association of University Cardiologists. Now, if that's not impressive enough, Dr. Albert is the first woman of color and Black female to serve as president of both the American Heart Association and the Association of University Cardiologists. She is also one of the youngest elected members of the National Academy of Medicine that is widely considered one of the highest honors in medicine. Dr. Michelle Albert is the admissions dean for the University of California at San Francisco School of Medicine, where she is an endowed chair of cardiology and a professor of medicine. But before Dr. Albert makes her remarks, I want to personally thank each and every one of you for a wonderful evening. It has truly been my pleasure. After Dr. Albert speaks, it is our panel time. So I'm going to head over to the live chat, hang out with everybody, and catch the rest of our Red Dress event. It is going to be a hearty party, I hear. I already know my friend and Link's sister, MSNBC's Symone Sanders, and our expert panelists are going to get to the heart of the matter like never before. You'll get to ask questions, and there are many more prizes in store. We have Commander's tickets, a styling consultation from celebrity stylist Michelle Lopez, Kennedy Center tickets, dinner at Ruth's Chris, rounds of golf. I could go on, but like I said, keep it locked right here. Continue to watch, like, and share. It is now my heart's delight to welcome to our Red Dress virtual stage the Dr. Michelle Albert. Let's give her a virtual round of applause.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Albert. I'm the current volunteer president of the American Heart Association. I also serve as a professor of medicine at the University of California in San Francisco. And I'm absolutely beyond thrilled to be here with you this evening to bring to you greetings from the American Heart Association and its longstanding relationship with the Links, and give a shout out to you, the DMV Links, for inviting me to give these brief remarks. As you know, the American Heart Association and the Links share a shared mission, which is to improve the health of all people. And in this particular circumstance, especially as a woman of color and specifically as a Black woman cardiologist, I am fully dedicated towards the equitable healthcare for Black women. In this regard, the AHA also has a similar mission. We know, and I know personally, that Black women are oftentimes the caregivers of both their parents, grandparents, children, and extended family members. Also, Black women oftentimes can serve as the breadwinners of their family, while at the same time having to perform at phenomenal levels in their work life, while at the same time being invisible to those around them. We oftentimes will put others before ourselves. And I'm here to plead to you tonight as a cardiologist that this must stop. We can't be superwomen for everyone. First, as they say in the airplane, you have to pull down your own oxygen mask. This means that we have to engage with our girlfriends and others who actually nourish our souls and who don't continually just pull and pull and pull and ask for things. We have to take care of ourselves before we take care of others. How do we do this? We might do this by taking a walk on the beach, walking in our neighborhood with a few of our friends or our neighbors. We might decide to go on a hike in a park. There are many things you can do. Some of us may enjoy getting massages. Whatever you do, you need to also schedule time in your daily schedule, just like you might schedule a meeting, to take time for yourself. Taking time for yourself may also mean reading scripture in the beginning of your day or the end of your day. I also want to bring to you this month that this is Heart Month, and it's also Black History Month. And for Heart Month, the American Heart Association has a Be the Beat challenge. And that challenge is a challenge that every household should have a household member who learns CPR. Why is the Heart Association interested in this? We know that there are 350,000 cardiac arrests every year. By doing CPR, it can increase the survivability by 2 to 3-fold. This is particularly important for our communities because CPR is performed at the lowest rate in Black communities. Both witness cardiac arrest in the home or in the public setting. If you learn CPR, you could be saving the life of a loved one because 70% of cardiac arrest occurs in the home. So you would be saving the life of a loved one, your spouse, your mother, your father, an aunt, or an uncle. So I encourage you to learn CPR. The American Heart Association has a 90-second video. Hands-only CPR is very easy to perform. Basically, you lock your hands in a 90-degree angle, use the heel of one of the hands, and you press on the chest as fast and as hard as you can for 100 to 120 beats a minute. You also, at the same time, shout out to someone to call 911. If you are the only one who's present, you put the phone down next to you with 911 on the line while you're accessing help and performing CPR. Really, really important. If you love our community, and I know you do, and you love your family, it is an imperative that you learn CPR and have your children learn CPR as well. Because in fact, they could be performing CPR on you. Thank you so much for having me tonight to talk to you about the American Heart Association and Be the Beat Challenge.
Well, greetings, everyone. Let's give another virtual round of applause to Dr. Michelle. She did that. All of our speakers tonight have been incredible. And Jumi, you have been amazing, but I'm going to take it from here, sis. Before we get started, I really want to underscore what Dr. Michelle just said about CPR. We are getting to the heart of the matter tonight. We all know the story of Damar Hamlin, the player from the Buffalo Bills who collapsed on the field, and it was CPR that saved his life, folks. So it's very important that we get educated, we get trained, we receive the information, and we do something with it. So how y'all feeling out there? We're feeling good? All right. I'm seeing y'all in the chat right here. For those who do not know me, my name is Symone Townsend, and I am so elated to be with you here tonight. And I am your moderator for this amazing panel. Before I go any further, I want to make sure I give a very special shout out to my dear friend and powerhouse executive, Tanya Lombard, who's our diamond sponsor from AT&T. Also want to shout out Gina Adams and FedEx. And of course, a very, very, very special shout out to Andrea Rome. Andrea Rome used to moderate this panel. This year, she's letting me take a stab at it. So Link Sisters, let me know how I'm doing. And maybe Andrea and I can do a tag team next year. We really are about to get to the heart of the matter here. Okay, that is our theme for tonight. And this is a dynamic panel. So my question for you is, are y'all ready? I'm looking in the chat. I don't know, Link Sisters. I don't know. Are you ready? Okay. Well, stay tuned. We have also some incredible giveaways throughout this evening, so don't you go anywhere. Now, I want to introduce this amazing panel. Please hold your virtual round of applause until all of our panelists have been recognized. And if you want to know more about our panelists, please check out the REDress digital program book. We're going to drop that link in the chat for you. It's a REDress digital program book, so you can find out all this information about the amazing folks you are about to hear from. And I also want to know, we'll be taking questions tonight. So get your questions together. Be sure to pop them in the chat. We will be monitoring the chat, and we are going to go to your questions because this is a group conversation, this is the dialogue, ladies. We are going to save some lives. So let's get this thing started. Well, first, I would love to introduce our resident red dress cardiologist, Dr. Reginald Robinson. Dr. Reginald is back by popular demand. I myself have had the privilege of seeing Dr. Reginald speak, and he specializes in invasive cardiology right here in Washington, D.C., in the area at MedStar Cardiology Associates. His clinical expertise is in cardiology, and his practice is actually focused on TLC. What is that? Total lifestyle changes and healthier changes through prevention. Dr. Reginald is the president of the American Heart Association's Eastern States Region Board of Directors. He's a proud Morehouse man, and he's a member of the 100 Black Men of America and Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Dr. Reginald, thank you so much for being here tonight. I got some questions for you, so I know you'll have some answers. Next, we would love to bring to the stage Dr. Sharon Malone, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Dr. Sharon is a nationally known expert in women's health. She is board certified by the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists and certified by the North American Menopause Society as a certified national menopause practitioner. Throughout Dr. Malone's professional career, she has been extremely active in reproductive rights, in reducing teen pregnancy, and eliminating healthcare disparities. Somebody say COVID-19. Now, Dr. Sharon was also a partner at one of the oldest and most successful OBGYN medical practices, again, right here in Washington, D.C. The experience of losing her mother to colon cancer, diagnosed too late for treatment in the rural South, has truly informed how Dr. Sharon has chosen to practice medicine, and it has brought focus to the healthcare issues she has chosen to pursue. Dr. Sharon, thank you so much for being here tonight. We just are so excited to hear from you. Next, we want to bring to the stage Dr. Lisa Lowry Lomas. Now, Dr. Lisa has over 3 decades of experience in psychology with expertise in human relations and development. Yes, she's effectively referred to as Dr. Lisa by all her clients. Dr. Lisa, we appreciate you being here today. Professionally, Dr. Lisa, she served in the judicial branch of government and academia, as well as in the private sector as a successful years solo practitioner for over 2 decades. Dr. Lisa's global counseling practice also includes developing and facilitating corporate workshops, also seminars, and of course, public speaking engagements, such as the World Diversity Leadership Summit in Vienna, Austria. Yes. And Dr. Lisa also serves on the Howard County Mental and Behavioral Health Task Force and the Board of Directors for the Howard County National Association of the Mentally Ill. Dr. Lisa is a lifetime associate member of Jack and Jill of America Incorporated and a 35-year member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. And she's a proud mother of 2 sons. Thank you, Dr. Lisa, for being here. And last but certainly not least is Malik Yoba. Now, Malik Yoba has not joined us yet, but you all know him. He's on his way. You might know him as a detective, JC from the hit series New York Undercover, or Gavin. How can we forget Gavin in Tyler Perry's hit movie franchise, Why Did I Get Married? What you may not know is that Mr. Yoba is a heart health survivor, and he's on a life-saving heart health mission. Through his health journey, Malik started Open Hearts Club to help people heal and focus on their emotional and physical health. I can't wait to hear more about this from Malik. We will bring him into the conversation when he gets here. Woo, okay, this is a very accomplished and esteemed panel of participants. Thank you all so much for being here. The doctors are in the house, and y'all are gonna make a house call. And I want to start with this, and Dr. Reginald, I'm going to start with you, but this is a group conversation, doctors. So I want you all, if you hear something from Dr. Reginald, jump in, or I'll be jumping to you. But I read a stat the other day that I did not know, that nearly half of Black women over 20 have heart disease. And it struck me that in 2023, most Black women are still unaware that heart disease is, in fact, their greatest health risk. Like, ladies in the chat, how many of you knew these statistics? Tap in the chat and let me know. So help us understand, Dr. Reginald, what are the signs and symptoms of a heart attack that are unique to women that we should not ignore?
First, I'd like to thank you all for having me again. And I had to remember why I was here. I was just listening to you. I was just going to sit back and let you talk. You know, just enjoy hearing you talk there. So you said a few things. One is a tremendous statistic that most people don't know, that probably about 45% of women over 20 have had some form of cardiovascular disease. When we think about cardiovascular disease, we usually think about heart attack, stroke, but there are many things that encompass cardiovascular disease, like one of your colleagues, Yasmin, who thought she had acid reflux and just told her story just the other day about what she had was pericarditis or myocarditis. But what she did was really take control of her own health and didn't listen to that first person that told her she had acid reflux. You asked about symptoms. In particular in women, symptoms may be a little different, but the classic symptoms are classic. Right? If you're out exerting yourself, walking, exercising, and you start getting chest tightness, heaviness, pressure, going up to the jaw, down the arm, those are classic. Everyone should pick those out. Women may have some more subtle findings, or someone with diabetes may have more subtle findings, that you do your day-to-day activity and you become more winded than usual. So it may not be that classic finding. Just knowing your body knowing your body and knowing when to really go seek more help and further evaluate that.
Yeah, Dr. Sharon, something Dr. Reginald just said makes me think, then how do people know if they are actually at risk for heart disease? You know, I read the stat of women over 20. I'm 32 years old, but how do they know if they are actually at risk? And then we must discuss this piece about medication, because I know a lot of folks out there that think that they can just stop taking their medication because they think they're good. So we will have to get into that piece as well. But unpack this for us, Dr. Sharon.
Sure. I think a lot of what has happened with the increasing risk of cardiovascular disease has to do with, a lot of lifestyle issues and how things have changed. I mean, the incidence of obesity and high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, which we usually see it in older adults, but now we're starting to see it in children. All of these things sort of are the risk factors. And so seeing your physician, knowing what your blood pressure is, knowing what your cholesterol is, and also maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and that is diet and exercise, is going to minimize, and we don't say eliminate always, but minimize your risks for developing cardiovascular disease. But I think a big portion of this risk that we haven't really spent a lot of time talking about is the increased risk of the processed foods, the ultra processed foods that so many of us are exposed to. It's hard.
Name the foods, Dr. Sharon. What are the foods?
I will tell you this, anything, a fast food that you buy, most things that you buy in the grocery store that have a shelf life of more, that's not in a can or frozen, that has a shelf life of 6 months or more. And I often tell people, I said, if you buy a loaf of bread and that loaf of bread still has no mold on it in 2 or 3 weeks, then that is ultra processed bread. That is the chemicals that are in it. It's the added sugar. It's the added salt. And for a lot of people, it's unavoidable. And we have to deal with the fact that these things tend to be cheaper. They last longer. Fast food restaurants tend to be in lower income communities, and we're stressed and, you don't have time to cook. So if you had to say what's the biggest factor that's happened in the past 30 years, I would say the big change in our diet and the lack of activity. Kids are indoors, they're on their computers, they're on their phones, they're not going outdoors to play. And I don't think we can emphasize that enough, that is really a major driver of the increased risk.
I literally was on mute. I was just so shocked. So before I go to Dr. Lisa, Dr. Reginald, can you just address this piece about hypertension? I'm looking in the chat. I'm seeing folks. Melissa in the chat said she's trying to cut back on the salt, a little exercise, a little less fast food. Nancy in the chat noted that she didn't know that about bread. So talk to us a little bit about this particular piece about hypertension, building off of what Dr. Sharon just said.
Dr. Malone, she just said a whole bunch of very important things. When you go into a grocery store, most of them are the same, right? You go around the outside of the grocery store, those are where all the fresh products generally are, for the most part. But then when you're going up and down the aisles, you find the packaged, canned, and boxed foods. So generally, those are all the processed things. Frozen meals, they tend to have a lot of sodium or salt in those components. And when we think about hypertension, hypertension is probably the biggest factor in our community because it impacts so many different things from head to toe, right? One of the leading causes of stroke, one of the leading causes of congestive heart failure in our folks, one of the leading causes of ending up on dialysis, one of the leading causes of causing visual changes based on that blood pressure. And I always like to use simple analogies that if you're out doing a bench press, right? If you're doing the bench press this way, that's your systolic blood pressure, right? That number on the top. When you're bringing the dumbbell down to relax, that's your diastolic blood pressure, or the one when your muscles are trying to relax. So imagine your heart 20,000 times a day against higher blood pressure and is trying to relax and trying to pump. The higher that blood pressure is trying to pump against, what's going to happen? What happens to your muscles when you lift weights? It gets thicker first, right? Then you see these guys walking around, they can't straighten their arms out because their muscles are so thick. Same thing happens with the heart muscle. It gets thicker. Then the first stage of heart failure begins, and then it starts losing all elasticity, and the second stage of heart failure begins. And there's so many things that impact hypertension. Dr. Malone mentioned early onset of obesity. So we're seeing all these things a lot earlier now. We're seeing diabetes a lot earlier now. We're seeing hypertension a lot earlier now. So we're seeing congestive heart failure and dialysis a lot earlier now based on some of those things. But the good thing is that 80% of those can be.
Give me a little hope now, Dr.
Yeah, that's why I had to put it on there. I had to stop it and bring it back. I'm not all doom and gloom, right? So 80% of these things can be modified by what you said, TLC, total lifestyle change, right? The other 10% or 15%, we can't do anything. Those are the non-modifiable risk factors like your zip code.
Dr. Lisa, total lifestyle change, right? Some of these things are things that folks are in the chat talking about lifestyle changes, what they choose to eat, and we haven't even gotten into the equity piece here, because it is an equity issue that in some neighborhoods the bread that does not get moldy is the only bread that is available to them.
Right.
But there's a mental health piece to this as well, right? If we know better, we do better. But what about our mental health? Talk to us about that piece, and particularly the stigma that is associated with mental health still in this day and age.
You know, one of the things that both of the doctors mentioned, and thank you for having me again, is stress, total lifestyle change and stress. Both of those things directly impact our physical health. Mental health and physical health go hand in hand, mind, body, and spirit. And so when we're trying to be healthier physically, we also have to make sure that we're healthier mentally. And change is hard. You know, change is very, very hard. And oftentimes our habits, good and bad, are ones that we've learned from our parents and from those around us. So we've had them for years, and it is difficult to break them. We can, but it is very, very hard. And oftentimes stress and not having healthy ways to manage our stress and manage life as it's happening, whether it's COVID and the isolation and depression that comes from that, anxiety from having to go back into the world after having been isolated and trying to manage and balance all that life is bringing us. Then we're not going to talk about your job and your family and your friends and all of that comes along with it. All of that is challenging. And so I believe everybody needs to be in and out of therapy forever, because life happens and it's a safe space for you to process. Unfortunately, to the point, the stigma still exists in our community. I'm very happy to say that more of us are going to talk to a therapist. More of us are recognizing that we don't have to do it alone, and that having some help will allow us to be much more successful in these changes that we're attempting to make. We're not where I want us to be just yet, but we absolutely have made a lot of progress. And there are therapists for every pocketbook, every budget. We have them now that are virtual. My practice during COVID, prior to COVID, I really only saw people in person. Now I see people virtually. I've got license for many, many states across the country, as I'm sure many mental health professionals do as a result of COVID. So we're accessible that way. There's sliding scales, people have insurance, and sometimes money is a factor, but you can access the help. We're here.
Dr. Lisa, if someone who is watching this right now says, you know what, maybe I do need to try therapy, maybe I do need to speak to someone, how do they go about finding a therapist?
There are a lot of good web search engines. For those who have insurance, I always say start with your insurance company. They have a list of providers. Psychologytoday.com is one of my very favorite search engines because they vet the people that are there, so they're licensed, and allows you to see what their specialties are, shows you a picture so you can see who you're dealing with and what their focus is. And then WebMD, a good search engine, you put it in Google and all sorts of names will come up.
So y'all, Dr. Lisa is saying Google get therapy now, insert your city here, and a
Yes,
resource will pop up. Okay.
absolutely.
You can also Google her name and she will keep your
We'll do
information
just that.
confidential because she is certified. Yes, yes. We support Black business here at the heart of the matter. And again, folks, it is just so important. I see you all in the chat. It is so important that as we talk about our heart health, and as we're getting to the heart of the matter, that we are also talking about our mental health. Yeah, I believe, we have a professional for everything else, okay? Professional does our hair, professional does our nails. We need a professional for our mental health. Now, one of the things that I just love about the red dress discussion of health issues is that there are so many things, and myself included, that I did not realize were connected to heart disease. And so in the course of the red dress event that has been going on for years, every year we've covered breast cancer. Some years we've covered certain skin conditions. We've covered oral health issues, which all have a direct connection to heart disease. So Dr. Sharon, let's get to the heart of the matter here. Tell us about some female specific issues connected to heart disease that we probably don't even realize are related.
Well, you know what? The biggest female-related difference in heart disease is really menopause. For women, I mean, here's the good news, that women prior to menopause typically have about half the rate of heart attack and stroke as men do. That goes away at menopause. And there are a lot of reasons why that may be. But it appears that there are certain metabolic changes that happen when women enter this menopausal space. And just for those who are too young to know what we're talking about with menopause, menopause is the age at which a woman has her last menstrual period. And that happens about age 51. For African-American women, it happens a little bit earlier. So it's probably about a year earlier than that. But that menopausal transition, which is that when most women are in their early to mid 40s, which you are the 10 years or so before your last period, that's when you tend to have more symptoms, hot flashes, mood swings, the things that you typically associate with menopause. And what we are finding is that for women who are most symptomatic, as in more hot flashes, more sleeplessness, those women are at increased risk for developing cardiovascular disease. In addition to that, there are also some other changes in how your body weight redistributes during menopause. Once you get to that point in life, now we all are going to gain weight as we get older, but how that weight gets distributed is different. So instead of being in the hips and thighs, it goes around to the middle. And the middle is the worst place in the world to put weight when it comes to cardiovascular disease. And there is also an increased risk in type 2 diabetes, all of which increase your risk for cardiovascular disease. And I think that a lot of doctors really, who are not cardiologists, don't really pay attention to these things as well in terms of warning women for what the risks are. I think that women in the past 20 years have shied away from even addressing the issue of hormones or using estrogen therapy after menopause, because what we have found is that women who take estrogen and I think healthy women who otherwise you haven't had a heart attack or stroke yet, these are women who benefit the most, because if I tell you that sleep disturbance is an independent risk for developing heart disease, if you're having 50 hot flashes a day, you're not going to sleep very well at night. So it's the hot flashes, it's the lack of sleep, it's the type 2 diabetes, and women who take estrogen therapy after menopause actually have a 30% decrease in the likelihood of developing type 2 diabetes. So there are many reasons why this particular therapy or treatment has been off the table. And unfortunately, the people who need it the most, who are most symptomatic, and that tends to be Black women because we have symptoms longer, more severe, are people who tend not to even consider this. And the unfortunate thing too is that when you talk to your doctors, Black women are more likely to be, again, minimized in terms of your symptoms. We tend to normalize suffering because, you figure, oh, well, that's just how it is. it is not how it needs to be. And I think that women need to understand that connection between menopause, severity of symptoms, and increasing your likelihood of developing heart disease.
Symone, can I jump
Dr.
in
Sharon.
here?
Yes, please, Dr. Lisa, because first of all, I just want to make sure, I want to acknowledge the gems that Dr. Sharon just dropped, and because the chat is going crazy. Again, someone just said, whoo, she's dropping facts and knowledge. Someone said, wow, I didn't realize how much menopause and lack of sleep increases heart risk. Folks are saying this, thank you so much, Dr. Malone. Thank you. I'm learning so much. So blessed to be here. Dr. Lisa, please. And then I have another question.
Well, what Dr. Malone said, that we normalize pain, struggling, and that is something that we do. We just keep moving. We push through, and we tell each other to push through, and our community says, "Oh, just keep going." And that's one of the worst things that we can do. We have to stop and listen to our bodies and self-care, take care of ourselves first. And again, that mental and emotional piece. We got to take the S off our chest, and that's one of the major issues that still plagues our community. And I think one of the variables that impacts people even seeking help, because they think they're not supposed to seek help, because they're supposed to just keep moving.
I don't want folks to miss that gem that Dr. Lisa just noted. I really think that what you just said, Dr. Lisa, is I need to bold and underline that. I do that a lot on my show. I talk about bold and underlining. That's the point I don't want people to miss. And Dr. Reginald, I'm wondering I think that what I'm going to describe is something that maybe there are lots of folks who have dealt with this. You talk about mental health, Dr. Lisa, and I am so passionate about the DMV Links Red Dress, particularly the Heart of the Matter theme this year. My father died of complications from a stroke a couple years ago. My father worked out every day. He did 2-a-days. He would walk in the morning. He would go to the gym at night, and he had his stroke at the gym. And he had a stroke. He left the gym in an emergency room vehicle. And 2 weeks later, my father was gone.
Wow.
And I was depressed for an entire year after that, not knowing it, until some women, some ladies who are links, pulled me aside and told me, you have to go to therapy. You need a grief counselor. You need to see someone. Like Tanya Lombard, I would know, would be one of those individuals. And so the mental health piece is very, very important. But Dr. Reginald, can you speak to this piece? Because unfortunately, I think there are a lot of folks who are watching right now who they know someone who has had a stroke. Hopefully, maybe they know someone in their life who has survived a stroke and they are now living with the ramifications of that health event now. Maybe they are like me and they have lost someone to a stroke. Talk to us a little bit about signs and symptoms, but also there are people that will say, I'm healthy. I work out every day. This cannot affect me. And I'm telling you, it affected my father.
Yeah, so I was listening to what Dr. Lomas was saying, as well as Dr. Malone. And when you think about stress in the heart, there's something called Takotsubo's cardiomyopathy. And you would see it in young women. It's under a stressful environment where they have a heart attack. But when they go in to get the angiogram to look at the arteries are completely clean. And some of the theories behind it are sort of that flight or flight response, where you have this whole adrenaline surge with stress and anxiety, that those arteries constrict and you have a heart attack with completely normal blood vessels. So that's an impact that there's truly a scenario where that can actually happen. And what Dr. Malone mentioned, which sounds like metabolic syndrome, as we get older and we start distributing the weight around the belly, that fat around the belly is not just sitting there, it's actually fighting your own insulin, making you more resistant to your own insulin. So you become insulin resistant and diabetes starts to develop. You talked about family history, and I see Malik just joined us. He had an incredible story about his family history. That a family history means that you have a first-degree male relative before the age of 55 or 60 that had a heart attack or stroke, first-degree female relative that had a heart attack or stroke in their 60s. Most of us will have some disease by the time we're 70 or 80. I like to use analogy. If you go into a 70-year-old house and cut the plumbing open, you're going to see something, right? Doesn't necessarily mean you need roto-rootering at the time, but you know that you might have something, and you got to prevent needing that roto-rooter. Like your grandmother used to have that can on the stove where you pour that grease in the can and not down the sink, right? Pouring that grease down the sink, you're destined to clog those pipes up. So that other analogy I like to use is going to the gas station. Most of us on this call, we have our favorite gas, right? So you know that if you look on the tank, it tells you to put 97 in because we all have some fancy cars or something, right? We're not going to put regular, we're not going to put diesel. And when I ask my patients that, they say, well, why would I do that? It says put regular in there. I say, have you ever went to the gas station and thought about putting something else in there other than what it was supposed to have? And they say no. So they listen to a tag on the car vehicle saying, don't put this in there. But they won't listen to their doctor to say, if you put this in your own body, this will cause you death, right? So it's the same.
Dr. Reginald, the people in the chat said this is a great analogy. Yes, because we are paying attention to the gas tag.
So your body is your Bentley, right? You can't go to Advanced Auto Part to get your new heart, your new brain, your new kidney when it's gone. You can't just lift it up on wheels and change it out. So I make that analogy to people and they really get it after that, the plumbing analogy, the car analogy, that most people do think more about their car than their body. But if you don't have your body, nothing else really matters.
Well, I think this is an excellent segue. As the ladies in the chat have noted, Mr. Malik Yoba has joined us. He is here. Now, we introduced Mr. Yoba earlier to you all. Everyone knows him. We are so happy to see you, my friend. But what folks may not know is that you're on a health journey.
No, I thought you were going to talk about we just saw each other at the Amtrak station. We just met time like a month ago. And I was like, you know, you had your fancy. Yeah, she definitely got 97 at the car because I saw what she was wearing, bro.
Yes, I did recently meet Mr. Yoba at the Amtrak station in New York. And I did not know this at the time that you would be doing this event. And I also didn't know that you started Open Hearts Club to really help people heal and to focus on their emotional and their physical health. So we need to hear about this because I know oftentimes we do not look like what we have been through. I sure know I don't. I had some crazy meetings today. And Malik, a few years ago, you had a quadruple bypass surgery. You battled COVID-19 twice and your mother passed away. This was all within the span of a few years. And now you're on this healthy mission.
3 years.
Tell us about your then, wow. Tell us about your then and your now.
Well, thank you. It's good to see you again. I was really excited when they told me you were hosting. Brother Reggie, you and I need to connect and do this work together because I love your storytelling, and that's what our folk really respond to. You talked about the Open Hearts Club. So my story. So two things you all talked about before I jumped on. And forgive me, I'm coming from a meeting. One was just your father's story was very much similar to my story, and you talked about depression as a result of these conditions. And so I was, you know, both my parents had quadruple bypass. My sister had a stent put in her heart, in her arteries when she was 42. Had an uncle that died of a massive heart attack. So heart disease is definitely in the family. I thought I beat it, like your father working out, Soul Cycle 3 times a week. You saw me eating sushi, when, you know, eating clean. What I didn't know is that my body, just the genetic makeup of my body, overproduced calcium. And for the doctors, my numbers were 7,000. Normal is like 300.
Or zero.
Right? Or zero. Normal is zero.
Zero.
Mine was literally 7,000. So I had no idea. I was working, finished work one day in April of 2021, April 9th to be specific. My mother passed April 2nd. It was a very, very stressful time during COVID. She had dementia. So I was a caregiver for her. So that during COVID and quarantine, where we really got to discover how bad it was because she moved in between my sister and I. So that 24-hour care and just navigating the healthcare system to get her appropriate care. You see great need in that space on the dementia side alone. And that's, you know, part of this issue. We're connected to food, as we know. So that was stressful enough. And then she passed on April 2nd, April 9th. I'm taking a bike ride. I live in Brooklyn, rode to Dumbo Park, Brooklyn Bridge Park, on the way back to Fort Greene, I'm feeling something that felt like heartburn, and didn't feel it an hour before, and got off my bike and Googled heartburn cycling, because sometimes I would feel like, particularly when I was spinning a lot, and I would do it 3 times a week for like 8 years, up until COVID. I would have a little heartburn before class sometimes, and I would take a Tums and I felt better. So I didn't really think much of it. I Google heartburn and I find out it says acid reflux. So that's what I think it is. It says the position you're in the bike. So basically, Google misdiagnosis. I go to the doctor a couple of days later. I'd gone to the gym, told my trainer what was going on. He was like, nah, bro, leave, go to your doctor. I tell him heartburn. He gives me protocol for acid reflux, 2 weeks of, Prilosec or whatever that is, Nexium, thinking that's what it is. No wine, no citrus, no vinegar, no chocolate, tomatoes, that kind of thing. Took 4 months to realize what it was through blood work, stool samples, and ultimately scans, a CT scan. And my cardiologist, who happened to be Black, and I'd been looking for a Black cardiologist for years in New York. I told Brother Reggie yesterday, whenever we did we met, I guess it was yesterday. I know one other Black male cardiologist. And in New York, I asked all my doctor friends, please find a Black cardiologist, because I felt the all due respect to the Jewish man that saw me for years, like there, with all my medical history, there were no signs or no sense that I should have maybe been scanned sooner, because by the time I had my CT scan, they were like, you need an angiogram. And fortunately, I'm in New York at Mount Sinai, good insurance, good doctors checking me out. I come up off the table after angiogram. They're like, yeah, we need to admit you. And that was August 16th of 2021. I had surgery August 19th. I was 98% blocked in 4 arteries. Yeah. I see Doc. Me too. But what was crazy about it is, like, when I found out, I just went into this really Zen space. Like, I'd come out of the angiogram where you're not fully anesthetized. And I just there was this kind of calm acceptance. Like, okay, my parents had this, my sister, my uncle. Wow, me, 3 days a week, Soul Cycle, my trainer, doing all the right things, eating well, supposedly, discover chicken and beef, which I didn't really eat, red meat. My body was overproducing calcium, and based on the food. And when you go to your annuals, I'm getting normal readings as calcium, because it's a different reading for the heart than it is for your normal calcium. I found out that there's a specific lab called Boston Health, I think, which is like specializes in that particular test. So, and I discover 70, you guys know your doctors, 70, 80% people read as normal in their annual visits. But those are still people that get heart attacks. So there's misinformation or misunderstanding or misinterpretation of what those numbers really mean. But I think the big thing for me was, if it's genetic predisposition, get your joint scanned early and often, I would say. Where was I at 30, 35, 40, 45? I discovered this at 51. I'm 98% blocked in 4 arteries. And I feel fine. I didn't feel anything. Yeah, I had no idea.
Malik, I want to get the doctors to respond to some of what you just said. And then again, for folks who are watching, put your questions in the chat. We are going to audience questions after this. But I want some of the doctors to respond to what you just said, because first of all, thank you for sharing your story. I can see in the live comments that you are really affecting folks here. Someone just noted, I need to get my calcium scoring done. I didn't even know what calcium scoring was prior to this conversation. Dr. Sharon, I'm going to start with you because you mentioned earlier in your remarks talking about equity issue. You talked about an equity piece as it relates to doctors seeing folks. And what I just heard from Malik was first of all, he wants to find a Black cardiologist, and Dr. Reginald gonna help with that. I might have to do a segment on MSNBC to highlight Black cardiologists across the country because it seems like it's necessary.
Yes, ma'am.
So we will do that. I have an action item coming out of this panel today. But talk about this piece about Malik obviously advocated for himself, and because he advocated for himself and sought out very different care, he saved his life.
Right.
Talk about how folks can do this as in their everyday lives and visiting their healthcare professionals, because it is critically important.
You know, that is such an important, thing to be able to do. But the reality is that you have to know that's putting a lot on you. Now, I think in Malik's case, I can't even imagine with that family history that someone didn't go to the end of the earth to find out what your score was. You don't wait until someone has a heart attack to try to figure out what that is. I mean, that would have been a huge red flag. And I'm sure, Dr. Robinson, you will agree on that. But the reality is, and particularly if you're, a person of color, if you are and a woman, in this case, you frequently will not be heard. And if you don't speak up for yourself or to say, hey, what about this? And you can advocate for yourself without being disagreeable. But if you're not being heard, then you should do exactly what he did. He's like, well, then I need to go someplace else because, to me, that is just unconscionable that you hadn't had some.
Well, here's the crazy part. This doctor who I'd been seeing for at least 5 years, during COVID with supply chain issues, I called to re-up on my meds because I have hypertension, which I've been managing since 24, which I discovered on the set of Cool Runnings, just randomly asking the nurse to check my blood pressure one day, and it was a little elevated. So I've been managing that since 24 years old. So it's interesting, at 51, I have the surgery. So already I was over-indexing for my age. And so doctor, when I call him to re-up on my meds, a few days passed and I hadn't heard back. And so I called the office again. And this is a guy who generally had, he was stoic, but he had decent bedside manner. But once I saw once I dealt with what I dealt with, he should have been doing a whole lot more. 75-year-old Jewish guy at NYU. Thinking
the cardiologist has been invoked. Our resident Black cardiologist has been invoked. Dr. Reginald.
So I just say this one part though, in terms of the biases. So I called back a couple of days later, again being an advocate. Hey, did you re-up on my meds? Dude gets an attitude. His assistant got an attitude, and these are people I've been seeing at least 5-6 years. And so I said, listen, she goes, he's really busy. I'm like, I'm waiting for my meds. Why are you giving me attitude about my meds? She hangs up the phone, or I hang up the phone. I don't remember. I get a letter saying we're no longer going to see you as a patient. You should go find another cardiologist. And I advise you to do it soon. That was the treatment.
Dr. Reginald, and then Dr. Lisa, I would need to see a therapist to find out about how I'm not gonna catch a case at my former doctor's office. Dr. Reginald, let me hear from you first.
So a couple of quick things. Malik mentioned about blood pressure. So everyone that has hypertension, get you a blood pressure monitor, check your blood pressure when you're at home, take your actual machine with you when you go to the doctor's office, not just your writing, your results. Take your machine, have it out with you. When they check it, you check it right behind them. That way you know your machine is working correctly and that you can trust your home blood pressure readings. That's one thing. He mentioned something about the calcium score. So that's one of the first things I get in most of my patients, especially if they're for our folks. If they say that there's a part of the medical exam that we do called the family history. right? And then there's the social history. Do you smoke? Do you drink? Do you do drugs?
Right.
Does your mother have a heart attack, stroke history? That's the first thing you do. And if that any of those come up positive, that you have a family history of cardiovascular disease, a stress test is not a good screening test. Just like that plumbing. If you don't have a pinhole in that plumbing, your water pressure is not going to drop off. So you can have a 60% blockage, and every stress test you take will be normal. So that's where the calcium scan comes in. It's not that it's hard calcium, it's hardened plaque. That body builds up a lot of hard plaque, and when the CAT scan looks at it, it looks like hard calcium. So it's that plaque that builds up and starts to form all kinds of things like mortar. When you mix mortar up and it gets hard, it's there, it's stuck, it's in those arteries, right? So, and that starts to develop. You had your event at around 50. You probably started to develop it in your 20s and 30s along the way. So even if it weren't severe at the time when you had a plaque, a coronary calcium scan earlier on, at least it motivates a lot of people. When you see that you have some stuff growing on in you, that motivates you more than just saying, hey, you need to get out there and you need to start running. You need to start doing this. But if you see that you have plaque in your arteries, that's going to be an incentive to really start doing more. So a coronary calcium scan, all of my friends, I told them, go ask your doctor to get you a coronary calcium scan. It costs about $100. It's not paid out by insurance for the most part, but it's worth it. It's better than any other screening test that you can get when you're talking about looking for early plaque development.
Quick question from the chat. How often should folks be getting their blood pressure checked? And I would note, I have a blood pressure machine. Like I said, y'all, I'm 32 years old. I got a blood pressure machine, and I check my blood pressure every morning because I am stressed. I get on the scale and I check my blood pressure.
That's a good, if you get it going regularly, that's good. There's some people, certain professions that I see, like some people that are real fixated, they might check their blood pressure like 15 times a day, and I have to tell them to stop because it just drives
That'll stress you out.
Yeah. Right. I have to tell them, stop taking your blood pressure. Do it now once a week. Then you have to, there's a balance with that. Again, just looking at those times, the blood pressure will fluctuate throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Lisa, and then we have some more questions from the chat. Dr. Lisa, I also, and as Malik was telling his story, there is a theme here about mental health as well. Talk to us a little bit about just your reaction to his story, what you heard. And there are folks in the chat who are saying like, yes, we need a therapist, but it's hard. It's hard to find one. People want a Black therapist in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
A lot of individuals have said they would like to see a Black therapist, and it is hard for them to find someone. So talk a little bit about that, but I'd love for you to respond to Malik's story.
Yeah, I just the tenacity and the stress associated with it. But even more than that, you used your voice. You advocated for yourself. And one of the things that often happens is we don't use our voice, especially women. And we're told that that's being rude, and that we're very often, because we're caregivers and because we're raised to take care of others and put others' needs before our own, we're managing. We don't want to upset anybody. And so then we keep it and we stuff it. And that's one of the worst things that can happen, because again, the mind and the body are all connected. And so when you're suppressing your feelings and you're not managing them and processing them and really working through what's happening, then it negatively impacts you stress. And then, to the hypertension and heart disease that we're talking about. One of the reasons I mentioned a website earlier today, psychologytoday.com, because it does allow you to see, who the therapist is. So it has a photo affiliated with it. There are American Black Psychologists Association. And so if you Google that, they also have some resources. And I get it. I understand. I have my practice prior to me having a huge web presence. Excuse me. My practice went from having very few people of color to now practically 98% people of color. And I know it's in large part because they can see that I'm an African American and can relate to them. But there are more of us out there. And what I also want to say is, when you look for your therapist, you go, if there's not a click, go find somebody else. You have to shop around sometimes. I mean, the Malik story about his doctor blows my mind. The doctor would be mad at him, and then essentially fires him from the practice. But I believe in the click, because a bad therapist is worse than no therapist at all. So keep looking if you don't find somebody initially.
Can I
a therapist is like a relationship. Yes, Malik, because I have a question from you for you from someone in the chat, actually.
Yeah, I want to just give the name of a Black female therapist out of Atlanta. Does a lot of, if I can, I'll just give her a shout. I'm gonna get her and pull a number up, but I answer the question first.
Oh yeah, yes. Well, we have a couple, so we are taking notes and all shout outs for Black cardiologists, Black gynecologists and OBGYNs, and Black therapists. We have 3 right here on the screen, and Malik is going to give us a name of another therapist. Yes, what is her name?
Nikia, Scott in Atlanta. Her number is 301-404-5284. You could follow her on Instagram as well. That's Dr. Nikia Scott. We actually met during the pandemic, and we would do lives together as people were dealing with their mental health. And I can say one of the deepest parts of post-surgery recovery, you asked about the Open Hearts Club. A friend of mine called me the day I was getting out of the hospital. He didn't know I was in the hospital. He literally had a broken heart from a relationship of 9 years. So, and this is a 62-year-old Black man who I've known for 20-something years, and I didn't know him for 20-something years, because through his heartbreak, and one of those men that held so much inside and never talked about it, calls me, blowing up my phone at 7 a.m. He never calls that early. His name is Dan Pearson. And I finally answer while I'm getting prepared to take my first shower in a week after surgery.
Wow.
And what's crazy is Bill Duke had sent me this video about not being afraid to use your voice and be who you are, right? So I'm watching this video. Young man's in the room, preparing me for my shower, asking me questions like, brother, when did you know you were free? He suffered from anxiety. He wore 2 sets of scrubs in the hospital. He was the cleanup guy, basically, looking for his purpose in life, feeling insecure at Mount Sinai with all these highly educated people, fellowshipping with me in the dark of my room at 7 a.m. while I'm watching this thing that Bill sent me. I say, brother, let me send this to you instead. He starts to cry. He says, can I hug you? As he's hugging me and we're fellowshipping, 42-year-old Black man felt safe enough to share his pain and his anxiety while I'm the patient. My boy's blowing up the phone. I'm like, yo, I'm in the middle of something. I'm gonna call you back. Still has no idea I'm in the hospital. I take a shower, I get out, call him. He says, yo, me and my lady broke up. He tells me what had happened. I'm devastated for him because I know how committed he was. I say, hey, I have to walk every day as part of my recovery. He goes, well, I walk every day anyway. So he and I started walking. We started fellowshipping at a level that he kept saying, man, nobody knows this. I've never told anybody this. And I'm like, bro, but you've been with her for almost 10 years. She doesn't know any of this? Nah, man, nah. And this is a dude who's, given the trauma of his life, kicked out the house at 11 years old in the winter, homeless. His story's crazy, but he's manages incredibly well given his experience and the fact that he held so much in. We start walking every day. I couldn't even walk a half a block in the beginning. And so the depression sets in because your mortality becomes really, really real. Like, what the, half a block? Then the next day, a block. Then the next day, couldn't even do a half a block. So over months, we start walking. We got up to about 8 miles a day over the course of every day at 11 o'clock, we would walk and we would fellowship, and then others would join us, and then we would take meetings. But it's the most amount of time I ever spent in my adult life, which is about almost 6 months, on this schedule that I never knew anything about, like walking every day, talking. I'm a talker, so people know my shit. But this dude, like, because I learned a long time ago how important that was. I'm not, you know, as an artist, right? Whether we're writing it, whether we're singing it, whether we're speaking it. So advocating just through art. And you know, it is said theater is a laboratory of life. And these are called the healing arts for a reason. You know, doing a movie as a friend, not to go too far off tangent, but even doing a Why Did I Get Married, right? Playing that character, Gavin, with a woman who's a psychologist but couldn't tell her to speak her truth. But tapping into the truth of what that meant for me as a man who has been doing therapy since I was in my 20s, who's a big advocate for mental health and being open and understanding the power of that. So the Open Hearts Club really was born out of Dan and I taking these walks, and it was sort of like a fun name to call it. But it became a real thing. And we'd have women join us. It was beautiful. And then it got cold. And so we still walk, not as often every day, but I still walk. And just discovering that as a low impact cardio, what that can do.
And it can make a difference. It can. Well, first of all, you answered the question that was in the chat, Malik. So that is amazing. I see Dr. Reginald wants to jump in, and then I have a question from the chat for Dr. Sharon. Dr. Reggie, go ahead.
I was going to ask, Malik, did they refer you to a cardiac rehab? And if not, they should.
They did. Okay. Yeah, I did cardiac rehab. It did, not too long. So you're doing all
it's about 26 sessions. So
yeah, that's what they recommended. I did probably a quarter of those because I was walking so much anyway. And but the funny thing is I was the youngest person in there. And so just being up in there with a bunch of 60 and 70-year-olds for the most part was like, wow.
Yeah, I just wanted to let people know that when they have these procedures, whether they had a heart attack, congestive heart failure, bypass, they should be sent to cardiac rehab. And most of us don't get sent to cardiac rehab.
Really?
Right. So
they don't? Like the doctor won't prescribe that?
They may not even think about that.
Right.
So, and it's shown that cardiac rehab produces, you know, bad outcomes, not just thinking about bypass surgery, but the millions of people that are out there with congestive heart failure that will benefit from going to the structured cardiac rehab therapy for 2 to 3 days a week. Those people do much better than those who aren't getting cardiac rehab.
Wow. And I am happy to say I did have a Black surgeon, a Nigerian cat who has an incredible story. One of the most gifted hands in the business. His name is Dr. Ani. Shout out to him and the beautiful nurses that took care of me. And I discovered what nurses really do. I had no idea what nurses really do.
Nurses are out here keeping us all alive, keeping the doctors sane and saving folks all across this country. My mother-in-law is a nurse. Shout out to Miss Karen Waters. The questions are rolling in. I'm getting questions in the chat. I'm getting questions in my text messages. The link, this is like, I heard you moderating. This is what I want to know. This is a question. It's in the chat. They said specifically, Dr. Sharon, you spoke about menopause. Said, Dr. Sharon, my friends and I are miserable. We need some solutions. How can we get more information about menopause and hormone replacement? Folks did not know, Dr. Sharon, about the connection between heart disease and menopause. Can you give the people some tools for relief?
You know what? I have to show you. Again, here's a website you can go to. There is the North American Menopause Society, or menopause.org. And it will give you, it has a lot of information on there, you know, sort of patient-friendly information that will explain a lot of these things to you. And it also has a list of providers who are certified national menopause practitioners. Because oddly enough, you would think OBGYNs, this is what we do. So clearly they will know about menopause, but only about 25% of OBGYNs really have an interest in this. And I have to tell you, and it's not because they don't care. It's just that most OBGYNs are asked to do a lot of things. You're delivering babies, you're doing surgery, you're a primary care doctor. And a lot of our time is really spent in women in their reproductive years. And then once you get to menopause, you're like, you know, that requires too much talking. Okay. Because now I've got to listen to you. I've got to explain to you. And a lot of people just don't feel like it. So finding someone who, I think the better thing to do is to find someone that doesn't do obstetrics, because they are going to be, you know, women typically of a certain age. They not only know about it from a medical point of view, but they also, many of us know it personally, what that means. And it brings a different level of empathy to this conversation. But I have to tell you that the one thing that if I had to say again and again and again, get educated about what the signs and symptoms are, because there are over 34 symptoms of menopause. And women don't associate them because they happen way earlier than what they thought. It's sort of like, well, menopause, you're in your 50s, right? No, you're in your 40s and sometimes even in your late 30s, where you start to have, weight gain and mood swings and sleeplessness and anxiety and, and sexual function issues. All of these things, the more of them you have, again, the higher risk you are for having other issues later on down the road. And don't be afraid of addressing the issue of hormones, because there's a lot of misinformation out there that says, oh, hormones are bad and they're going to give you cancer. And we get information to the extent that we get any. You're talking to your girlfriend, your hairdresser, somebody else, and they'll say, girl, try this herb and try this. And it's like, trust me, they do not know. Okay. And there are people out there.
Dr. Sher, please say it again. Please say it again. Okay. Because there are people out here getting herbal menopause support,
right,
or support for all kind of other things at the beauty shop, at the barber shop. Say it one more time for the folks in the back.
You know what I said, if you are comfortable getting your medical advice from your hairdresser, then I'm just saying, I don't know what I can say for you, but this I will say. The other thing that I think is vitally important is to realize, for those women who don't have symptoms, and there are about 20% of women who will just breeze through this whole thing and never, don't blink an eye. Those 20% shouldn't shame the 80% who are having problems. Your menopause journey is your menopause journey, but don't let how you feel influence or you to sort of tell someone else what they should or shouldn't do, because there's a lot of negativity out there about hormones that has really got to go away. And for those of you who didn't see it, there was a huge piece in the New York Times that came out day before yesterday. And it's a long article, and I think it's going to be the cover story in the magazine, but it basically says women have been misled about menopause. And because all of the things that came from a study that was done 20 years ago are still being perpetuated, because bad news sticks and people are still thinking, oh, it's going to give me cancer. No, or all of the benefits that you get from it on the cardiovascular disease front, and even just the peace of mind and being able to get through your life and live your day. These are important. So North American Menopause Society, menopause.org, read the article in the New York Times, because it's excellent. It's a really good review of things, and it sort of explains why there is so much misinformation out there about hormones for menopausal women.
We will be getting this and reading this. A question from the chat. Hold on, I'm making sure I get our folks' names. We answered this one about what normal blood pressure range. What is normal blood pressure range for systolic? That is a question that came in. And then yes, we have that up. What is the normal blood pressure range for systolic?
Well, you would do both the systolic and diastolic, 120 over 80. So once you start getting the 130 over 90 or 130 over 89 to 90, you start to get into stage 1. It's not that you should be put on blood pressure medication in the 130s to 140 or 89 to 90. It means that's your red flag to start getting your life together, getting your workout on, getting your diet modified, looking at secondary causes of hypertension, because in some of us, there may be certain hormones that we need to check, something called renin and aldosterone that may be a little higher or lower based on salt sensitivity. So most physicians may not look into that. So if you're going in at a young age in your 20s and 30s and you have really high hypertension, high blood pressure, you should ask your primary doctor, so have you run other tests to see if there's a secondary cause of my high blood pressure? Not just saying, oh, you have high blood pressure, let's keep on treating it. Because you could have blocked arteries of your kidneys, something called fibrodysplasia of your arteries, and causing higher blood pressures. That may be seen more in women. Or you may have one of these hormonal imbalances, or you may have some hormones being produced by the adrenal glands that produce epinephrine or adrenaline that may make your blood pressure go up. So if you come in at a young age and you have hypertension, you probably need to look at all the different potential causes of hypertension or high blood pressure.
Another question in the chat is from Marilyn Miner. What is the impact of drinking alcohol on heart health? Okay, because I like a cocktail, doctors. Okay, Malik, I don't know about you, but I like a cocktail every now and then. I'll be having a cocktail after this event is concluded. What is the impact on heart health, docs? Can I have a cocktail? Should I be drinking red wine? Can I keep my hard liquor? I'm a champagne and Hennessy lady. I don't know about the rest of y'all.
Did you want to start, Dr. Malone? I saw you shaking your head.
I will, because you know what? It's confusing. It used to be, oh, one drink, but for women, and I'll say that because the recommendations are different for women than men, because women are typically smaller. And they would say one drink a day is really about the limit, because, even though it may or may not, affect the cardiac part of it, the reality is that if you drink 2 or more drinks a day, you not only increase your risk of breast cancer, you increase your risk of Alzheimer's. There's a lot of other cancers that sort of go along with that 2 or more drinks per day. So I say that to say, for someone who does not always adhere to that, I do not. I kind of save them up sometime, and I'll say 2 is always the limit, but never more than that. But don't drink because you think you're doing yourself some good on your heart. That's what I'm saying. Drink because that's what you want, and you're going to do that. But always be mindful, because, for all of the conversation that we have about hormone replacement and breast cancer, to give you an idea of the old study, not even the new ones that don't show this, but the older ones that used a synthetic progestin, the slight risk in the increase in the risk of breast cancer was equivalent to the same risk of having 2 glasses of wine or 2 alcoholic beverages per day, which women do and don't even think about it. There's no big label on a bottle of wine that says, this is going to give you breast cancer, but that same warning is on estrogen replacement. So keep that in mind. It's always good to be mindful, but knowing that none of us, we're going to, you live your life, and there are going to be some times when you have fun, but limit it. And the recommendations are no more than 7 alcoholic beverages, or and that's 4 ounces of wine or 1.5 ounces of any spirit that you drink, but don't have 7 all on one day.
And like some of my older patients come in and say, should I start drinking? No. Don't start drinking. Don't do that.
Okay, do y'all hear this? Do not start drinking.
That's
and
right.
again, if you feel like you need multiple cocktails, you need to go see Dr. Lisa or a therapist, because that means there's some things we need to talk about and work through. Am I right, Dr. Lisa?
That's right. That stress, increase that stress, and get rid of those hot flashes. You don't need that much alcohol.
Okay. There are a couple questions here. There's a question about caffeine, wondering if caffeine can have an impact on your heart and overall health. And as an espresso drinker, I am invested in this question. And then there is a question from Star Barber about how important is a healthy sex life for your heart and your mental health. Dr. Lisa, how important is a healthy sex life for your mental health?
Well,
Malik, it ain't me. I'm just reading from the chat. I'm reading from the
chat. Well, it's not a real question.
It was a real question. Ms. Barber also wants to know about language we should use when engaging our doctors or our hospital. So we're gonna go through all of these for the participants. Dr. Lee.
Well, it is good exercise, and so you will be working out your heart, and it is also a good stress reliever. And so if you have a healthy romantic relationship, then I say go for it. But that also brings into, Malik talked about his friends ending the relationship. Relationships can also be a huge stressor. So that's also something to keep in mind. And to piggyback on something Dr. Malone said earlier about the hairdresser, don't go to your hairdresser to talk about your mental health either. You really do need to also find a therapist, a professionally trained person to discuss your mental health.
I'm gonna stay on this point, and I want to unpack that, because I think for a lot of folks, particularly Black and brown people, folks that we know, people say, I don't need to go to a therapist, I'm going to church. I don't need to go to a therapist. You know, I talk to, you know, my cousin or my sister or my friend. I don't need to go to a therapist. My barber comes every Thursday. So why do they need a license? Yeah, what is the difference? Because I think there are folks out there that would say, well, why do I need to see a therapist when I am speaking to someone that I feel like understands, and I do feel like I'm getting help from this, a person who's not a professional, but I feel like they're helping me?
Well, first of all, I will say the person that you're talking to, unless they're trained, I mean, I have 20 plus years of education. So it's more than just having a chat. It really is listening for patterns of behavior and trends and trauma and addressing those sorts of things. So if you're just chatting, that's one thing. So with your girlfriend or your hairdresser, you're just chatting, but that person cannot give you the insight that you can get from someone who is professionally trained. There is a difference with somebody who is licensed versus someone who you are just chatting with. Oftentimes my clients say to me, oh, I feel like you're my girlfriend. Good, then I'm doing my job right. You should feel relaxed and comfortable, but it is not, but we're not friends. You know, it is not the same. I don't bring myself to the situation either. This is all about you and me listening for your bad habits and your patterns of behavior and your decision making and what's underneath and what's contributing to it, and really kind of teaching you ways to manage that is better than healthier than patterns that you probably are currently having. It is absolutely not the same. And let me say, the church and mental health go hand in hand. One cannot replace the other. And so I'm a Christian, and I definitely encourage all of my clients to believe in a higher power and subscribe to whatever religious background that they do, that to do that. I mean, there's not one instead of the other.
And not one instead of the other. We could continue to do this all night. I know there are additional questions in the chat. I'm going to ask for some final comments from each of our esteemed panelists on the heart of the matter, because we do still have some prizes to give away, folks out there. So please stay tuned and stay zoomed in. But Malik, I want to start with you. Just some final comments on the heart of the matter. You shared your very powerful story. What do you want to leave the folks with tonight?
Just be an advocate for, educate. Like I would say, if you've really listened with your heart, your ears, your mind, your spirit, and receive the blessing that this moment is, I hope that you can continue to take action regardless of your fear, right? A lot of times, I'm not going to Google this, or I'm not going to ask because I don't want to know. A lot of people feel that way. Like, if I got it, I don't even want to know about it. So, depends on the type of life you want to live, right? We do have capacity to live abundant lives of purpose and meaning. And if that is your mission, then, lean into it and do what you got to do for yourself, so you can be here as long as you can to do the work you got to do. And frankly, I feel like my greatest work is now. Everything I've done before August 19th, 2021 pales in comparison. And that depression, if you do go through surgery, you will be depressed. You will question your mortality and your life and look for new meaning. All those things will happen. But as Dr. Lisa Laurie said, connect with that higher power, whatever that is for you. Lean into that purpose, and become an advocate. Each one teach one.
Amazing, amazing final comments. Malik Yoba, everyone. Dr. Lisa, your final thoughts. Let's get to the heart of the matter.
The heart of the matter is that you matter, and that the mind and body are connected, and managing your stress, depression, anxiety, and other deeper mental health and emotional health issues is serious, and it definitely will impact your physical health. Find a good licensed professional. It is not the same as your girlfriend, I promise you, and keep looking. I mean, if the first one doesn't fit, then keep looking, because there are good therapists out there, and there are good therapists of color out there as well.
Thank you, Dr. Lisa Laurie Lomas. We appreciate your time sharing with us here. Get y'all a therapist, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Sharon, your final comments.
Yes. The one note that I really want to leave for people is this, and I think it should be encouraging, because we talked about a lot of heavy stuff here today, but the message is that genetics is not destiny. Just because you have a family history, and Malik, your situation is different, that is in a different category than the overwhelming majority of us. We inherit genetic predispositions. That does not mean that we are going to necessarily inherit a disease. So we have a lot more control than we think we do over our ultimate outcomes. I think that women in particular, and all of us, should not normalize suffering, because I think that is the image that we have of aging, because we've watched our elders not do well, lose limbs, have heart attacks, and go on dialysis. That does not have to be your destiny. And as long as you understand that there are things that you can do, don't accept that. And do not, above all, do not accept suffering. You can age well and be well.
Dr. Sharon Malone, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Dr. Sharon. Dr. Reginald Robinson, you are going to close us out here with this panel. Your final comments to our resident red dress cardiologist.
So something that I echo on everything that everyone else said. When you think about genetics, we think about the DNA and RNA, but we have the genetics of our environment. And as Dr. Malone said, we don't necessarily have to be that environment. If we think that, oh, I'm big bone, or all of my family is going to be this way, and I have to be that way. 80% of the things that we deal with can be modified by lifestyle modification. You say that again, 80% of the things that we deal with can be modified by lifestyle change. And if you look at the extreme, someone has had gastric bypass surgery may be off of their diabetic medications, may be off of their blood pressure medication because they had that extreme weight loss. But if you can do that on your own without having to go through that, you can see that those lifestyle modifications can do that. And the other thing would be an advocate, like Dr. Malik said, you wouldn't go into any store and take what someone told you in the store and keep going back to that same store, right? You pick another store. So healthcare is not free, and it costs a lot. Many of us on this call, we may have that option where many that have Medicaid and Medicare, or mostly the Medicaid population, may not have that option to go find another physician. But if you do, if you're not happy or not pleased, always go look for another physician.
Advocate for yourself. Dr. Reginald Robinson, thank you. Please give a virtual round of applause for this esteemed panel. I don't know if y'all have been able to see the comments on the side, but the chat has gone wild. Folks believe that Dr. Reginald needs a podcast. Dr. Sharon and Dr. Lisa, the people will be at your doors, beating the doors down for some appointments, so I hope you are ready. And Malik, I'm sure these ladies have slid in the DMs because they're like, yes, open heart health, we need to have the conversations. I too will walk with you. Thank you all so much for such a valuable and amazing conversation. And I am gonna, y'all can hold me to it because I'm gonna say it right here on the Zooms and things. We are gonna do a segment on my show about we might just, the heart of the matter. And I want all the doctors to come back and we are gonna have this. So my people will be reaching out, and Malik, we might just go ahead and include you too, because you seem to float well with the folks, because this is the information.
I do have an honorary doctorate, so I feel like, in certain circles, I do use that Dr. Monica. Thank you, Livingstone College, HBCU. I'm just saying, thank you.
All the doctors just hysterically cracked up at that. Thank you very much to this panel. Again, give another round of applause. To find out more about our panelists, y'all have to check out our digital program book. Okay, it is still going. I have just truly enjoyed serving as tonight's moderator. I learned a lot. We laughed. I took some copious notes over here. We have to be intentional about our health, folks. And that is really what this is all about. So before we end our time together tonight, let's talk about gift giving, because that matters. And I don't know about you, but gifts are always good for my heart, okay? So now it's time for our grand prize giveaways. We have 3 winners, and I just want to remind y'all what is in these packages. All packages include thousands of dollars worth of prizes. I hope I know somebody that won. And if it's some Link sisters that won, I will be at your door and in your email seeing how we can help unpack this prize together. So are you all ready? Give me a virtual drum roll, please. All right. Grand prize, thank you. Yes, our grand prize package number 1. Our winner is Erica Wright of Washington, D.C. All right, and she wins. Yes, let's put up on the screen. Yes, she wins a wealth building for retirement and estate planning package from the Labroy Insurance Group, a signature facial and Luxe skin products. Okay, neck cream, hydrating serum from Dr. Yolanda Holmes Dermatology. I've seen Dr. Yolanda, y'all. She's fab. Chiropractic treatment from Washington Integrative Health, and a gift card to Outback Steakhouse. All right, Erica, please claim your prize. Our grand prize package number 2. The winner is Melissa Charles of Los Angeles by way of Baltimore, Maryland. Melissa, you have won a 3-night stay at the Wynn Las Vegas. You won a Ruth's Chris gift card, a reversible cape from Forever's Treasures, and an Amazon gift card. Congratulations to you, Melissa Charles of Los Angeles by way of Baltimore, Maryland. Claim your prize. Grand prize package number 3. Our winner is Kimberly Davis of Upper Marlboro, Maryland. You have won 1 3-hour small business consulting session by the leading niche, a $200 e-gift card to the Kennedy Center from the Performing Arts, a Washington Commanders football game tickets. Now, they are not at the Super Bowl, but that means you have tickets for next year's season, and a $100 gift certificate to La Ferme French restaurant in Chevy Chase, Maryland. Let me tell you, it is delicious. Congratulations to you, Kimberly Davis of Upper Marlboro. Again, for all of tonight's prize winners, please don't forget to email your name, your cell phone number, and your mailing address to collect your prize. You must email to dmvlinksreddress@gmail.com. And before we go, okay, because there is a mega grand prize winner, our last winner of the night is none other than Sheila Chamberlain from Miami, Florida. And Sheila, she registered over 50 friends and family for tonight's red dress. Sheila, you win 2 tickets to daytime talk show The View. Yes, to see our own Link sister, Sunny Hostin and the crew. A kimono from the Be Affirmed collection. You also win an online wardrobe consultation with fashion designer and nationally known celebrity stylist Michelle Lopez. And 3 online stretch classes at the Stretch Room, courtesy of Symone Polllard's The Pollyard Collective. Give it up. Congrats to all of the other prize winners in the live chat. Congrats to all of you for just joining us tonight. I hope y'all enjoyed this as much as I have. I mean, honestly, I've had a ball. I love the red dress event. We can save lives and have fun doing it, ladies and gentlemen. So just thank you so much for your time. And I encourage you to stay connected with the 14 DMV Links Red Dress host chapters all year long for other amazing community events, other amazing programming. There are some really transformational things we are doing here at the Links Incorporated in the DMV area. Thank you to all of our amazing sponsors who made tonight possible. We literally could not do this great work without you. And in keeping with the heart of the matter, to my audience out there, please remember to make sure you are supporting your businesses and brands that support what matters to you, supporting your Black businesses, supporting the doctors and the folks that were on these panels. And you can support me by watching me on MSNBC weekends at 4 p.m. Eastern and MSNBC on Peacock with new episodes every Monday. And before I let you go, we have to give a huge round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you to the woman that kept us all going, the person that pulled us all together on this, Link Michelle. I don't even know if we can put Link Michelle up on the screen. She might try to get me for saying this, but we thank you for your work, Link Michelle. This has been informative. This has been engaging. This has truly, truly, truly made a difference to so many people. So congratulations, Link Michelle Bailey. We thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. And your service is just impeccable and it inspires us all. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our program. We thank you for joining us for the Heart of the Matter. This was the 15th annual DMV Links Red Dress event. And if you had a good time, that means we're going to see you next year. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great night.